I don't believe in selling, and if that triggers you, then this video is for you. Hey guys, it's Shashank, and last video mein you saw that we spoke about decision guide, how to become a decision guide. If you haven't watched the older videos before this, you can watch them because it's all in a sequence from video 1 to this video, right? It'll help you to improve your understanding in step-by-step manner. Now in this video, we are going to talk about how can you actually become that decision guide on the call instead of being a salesperson, and how decision guide can ultimately help you to close at a higher closing percentage for good ticket sizes. Now overall, what you firstly need to understand is what decision guide is not, right? That's the main thing. A decision guide is not a persuader. You're not there to manipulate people, first of all. Number two, you're not a closer who is chasing commissions. You don't have that commissions breath. Number three, you're not there to sell to people. You're not there to prove yourself. You're not there to over-explain or pressurize somebody. The moment you need the deal is gone. Why? Because you then get that commissions breath. So you need to really be attached to the process and detached to the outcome. Most people do it the opposite way. They are attached to the outcome, which is the sale, and detached to the process. Hence their calls sound like that it's going all over the place, right? That is firstly what you need to understand, what decision guide is not. Now, what is the decision guide? Let me give you a lot of examples to explain that. First of all, a decision guide has emotional stability. What does that mean? I was reviewing one of our calls of one of our closers that we have placed on a B2B account that we manage. Now, there were two closers on the same account. One closer was a good, experienced, high-ticket closer since the past 4-5 years. And the other one has a lesser experience in high-ticket sales, a year or 6 months of experience only. So what I did is I played, we were reviewing their calls. So I listened to the starting part of both of their calls. The person who was in the industry, who was more experienced, he was very calm, very relaxed in the beginning. He was not trying to be oversweet with the prospect. In terms of, they both were like, we were reviewing the rapport building stage initially. His rapport building lasted for just 1 minute. And then he got into the call, the experienced one. Whereas the inexperienced one or the lesser experienced one, his rapport building went on for almost 4.5 minutes. And he was trying to be oversweet with the prospect, smiling, giggling, complimenting that the background wall is really good. Nothing wrong with that. But that instantly takes your framing away. That takes away your framing on the call. And that is the difference between a salesperson and a decision guide. So that is the first example. When I say emotional stability, that is what I mean. That you do not try to overcompensate for anything on the sales call. You're just very relaxed on the call. Why? Because you have done this thousands of times. You have taken thousands of calls, even if not literally, but you still have spoken to at least, I think, 50, 100, 200 people in your niche, right? If you are a closer. So you should be relaxed. You should be like, okay, I know what your challenges are. I have the solution. I've helped many people earlier. So that is the mind frame that you go with. And that is why you have that sense of calmness, neutrality. You're not attached to anything. That's the first thing. Second thing, which brings me to the second point, which is you're not attached to the outcome. You don't care whether the sale is happening or not. Now, when I say that, people will take it in the wrong manner, right? It does not mean that you do not value sale. You still are a closer, you need to get sales, but you're not attached to it. You're not emotionally attached to it. What happens is, I'll give you another example of another closer. I was reviewing this call literally today in the morning. So at the end, in the objection handle, he dropped the price, and then the person was like, "ठीक है, Mr. Closer, I will just think about this. एकदम से तो I cannot make a decision on this call. This is what the prospect said." So this person after that was like, "No worries, let me tell you why this is the best thing, the best offer for you. But before I tell you that, tell me are you 100% sure that you really want to do this?" Now he was going in the right direction, but the statement that he used was very salesy, right? that let me tell you why this is the best offer for you. Now you'll be like, Shashank, is that even like, seriously, like, are you gonna do this nitty picking thing? But that actually affects a lot on the sales call. So yes, I'm gonna nitpick things from the call. That is the first thing. After that, the prospect gave a objection. Oh, I'll speak to my wife and my doctor, because he was in a, that was a fitness health related offer that he was selling. So he's like, I'll speak to my doctor. Then this guy was, instead of handling the objection, his reaction was, you still want to talk to your doctor? Like, for the past 9 years you have been speaking to him, but he wasn't able to give you the results, right? So again, sales resistance went through the roof after that. Definitely sale wasn't coming after that, once you have handled the objection in that manner. So that is the second thing. You should be detached to the outcome. Because the closer was so attached to the outcome, he forgot the process and he stopped following it, and then he messed up and he lost the sale. So that is the second thing. Third thing is, you need to create safety for truth, right? So example, in this scenario, instead of challenging the prospects directly, after a certain point you have to challenge people, but not initially, not when they are already not opening up. If instead of creating a safe space, if you start creating more challenging space and start challenging them, then of course they are not going to buy, they are not going to open up, they are not going to tell you the real objection. So you need to create safety for truth. That is the next thing, right? The next thing after that is, once you do these three things, like, the prospect can sense that certainty from you on the sales call. That is very important. That is what the experienced closer I was telling you about was able to do on his calls. He shows his certainty. The choice of words that he has is better than inexperienced closers. Even when I use, when I'm doing objection handling, the kind of words I use is very intentional. I always use like, are you 100% sure? Are you 100% certain you want to do this? So 100% certain, that is like intentional. That's not vocabulary, it's intentionally have put it over there, right? So like that, like, I use a lot of certain words to transfer that certainty to the prospect. And overall, on the sales call, you should also be an expert in the subject matter that you're selling. If you're not able to help the prospect to get that aha moment on the call, where they're like, oh shit, I didn't know this problem, the root cause of this problem was this, and I didn't even knew that because of this I was facing this other problem in my life. If you are able to help them to get that insight, that is when you're doing your job correctly. You help people to see reality. Why? Because most people live in delusion. They try to delude themselves with wonderful stories, and a closer's job is to kind of take away those stories from the prospect and show them, yo, this is the mirror, this is the reality. If you're not doing that on your sales call, if you're not inducing enough pain or not going for the personal pain, then you're not doing your job correctly. That is what a decision guide does. And in the end, the most important part is, the decision guide is always okay with whether it's a yes or a no. It does not threaten his or her identity. They are okay with the result. They know that the result doesn't tell them anything. Like, I'll give you my personal example. When I was closing for this trading offer, there was 1 month, there were 2 scenarios. What happened is, we recently started ads. I was closing part-time. I didn't used to take a lot of calls since I was handling the entire business in this trading offer. So we launched paid ads. I took 4 paid ad calls. These were initial calls. I closed all of them, all 4 of them. And I wasn't even aware how many calls I took. So at the month end, when we were taking out the data, I was like, okay, let me see how many calls did I take overall. So I took 4 calls. All of them were paid ad calls and all of them converted. So I had 100% closing rate. I was like, okay, wow, that's nice. That's a good validation. But the month later on, what happened is, I almost took 20-25 sales calls, that too organic calls, people who were nurtured, and I didn't close any one of them. What happened? But right, so if anybody else was in my situation, they would have started doubting themselves. Yo, I've taken 10 calls, 11 calls, 15 calls, 20 calls, 25 calls, and I haven't closed anybody, and that too organic calls. So Even the person who was like the partner at that time, he was getting concerned. Oh, Shashank, like people are not converting. What's happening? Like, are you taking the calls correctly? I was like, relax. People will convert. Don't worry. So that is the kind of delusion or the confidence that I live in, because I know my skills. I have certainty behind my skills. And even if I do not close out of 25 offers, like eventually, of course, I did. After that, I made like a couple of offers and then it was good. I did close 3-4 people after that. But I did not go into panic mode because I knew that my skills are good. And that is what I mean to that you need to be okay with a yes or a no. Once you have this level of certainty within yourself, then you have that leadership authority on the call. In today's world, you have that aura on the call, right? And your aura decreases when you become salesy on the call. So your job is not to make people buy, your job is to help them decide correctly. And that is what a decision guide actually is, because you need to realize that all high ticket decisions are identity based, and because of their identity, an emotion is created, and then the people use logic to justify the emotion that they are feeling. All high ticket sales involve risk and it requires certainty. If you start selling people, it increases friction, it increases fear in them. But if you start guiding people, it reduces the fear and increases the certainty. So that is what you need to understand, that pressure creates resistance, whereas certainty creates movement overall. So try to follow this on your sales call overall, and do not be a desperate closer. Do not be a quick money chaser. You actually have to love becoming a master. You need to fall in love with the process. You need to have emotional control and a long-term leverage. So overall, if you have to become a decision guide, it will require a lot of ownership and responsibility. That's why majority people aren't able to do it. Why? Because it requires some level of ownership and responsibility. Most people are lazy out there, like flat out there, like they're lazy. They do not want to put in the work or the efforts. Then they get the results that they get, and that's fine. But if you are not a lazy person, then this is the pathway, right? So overall, if this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. I release 2 videos every week regarding high ticket sales. If you haven't watched the other videos on this channel previous to this, highly recommend you to watch them, because I talk about these things in detail. And yeah, like the video, share it, put your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. See you.